The likelihood of this country continuing on its current path and remaining the country that so many were fooled into believing it was has slowly devolved into a 0 point percentage. The die has been cast into a firm mold of resentment, entitlement, and rabid white supremacy, systematically choking any remaining life out of its dwindling population. Donald Trump, in being the perfect representation of what this country stands for, has taken complete control of the reins of this government with the blessings of his white counterparts, and is leading the way toward its ultimate destruction. The world looks on in disbelief as America becomes a fascistic caricature of nationalistic white pride, seemingly overshadowing the Nazi led government in Germany it fought to stave off the poison it now embraces. Those over 400,000 American lost souls seem but a faint and distant footnote in the failing memories of an aged population that are now the victims of Trump's pursuit to purge any remembrance of such events. His generation benefited the most in the attempt to remove from the planet any notion that a dictatorship of the Nazi kind would be allowed to take root and thrive. Yet, as his own aspirational dictatorial roots dig even deeper into the foul yet fertile soil of the twisted minds of white America, the population seems prepared not to take notice of such a precious gift. Now begins their retrograde, back to a time when the veil of their feigned civility was ripped away from their false faces, and those who considered themselves superior and above all others became mass murdering, genocidal monsters. The movement from a functional society towards an unrestrained civil war driven populace is as subtle and unseen as the hands that manipulate such events into existence. Make no mistake, that is the collision course that the United States has found itself now tracking, and there seems no stopping the eventual destination of an anarchistic ending. The Germans could not have imagined the horrors that would culminate into its final curtain call, being drawn to a close by the collective efforts of other countries who were willingly determined to outmatch Germany's own ability to make war and bring about its eventual and utter defeat. The United States has within clear view a future of that same trajectory in following the identical footprints created so long ago, aligning itself with the failures of other globally aspiring superpowers that are now lost to obscurity and since long forgotten. They have painted themselves into a corner within a locked room that's within a burning house, set deep within a forest, set ablaze by their own avarice and hubris. They are well beyond the point of no return, and their future has been set into its final fatal existence and is now being etched into the stone of history as there can be no alteration nor effect to the deliberate and destructive course that lays ahead. Those of us who are placed here by historic circumstance and came to this land not of our own volition now possess a front row seat in the witnessing of the last gasp of white American capitalistic imperialism. They push forward the throttle of their determination to be as abhorrently vile and as racist a country as they ever have been, and look to succeed in outdoing their ancestors, being as hate filled against any and all that do not mirror their twisted set of values and sense of self entitled privilege. They claim a moral superiority where none has ever existed, and press upon the world the mechanized mantra of do as we say or suffer the consequences that comes with defying the global white power structure they have built with the blood and treasure they now lack to stave off their inevitable demise. Whatever good they may have possessed has long been offered as a sacrifice to their unholy god of greed through endless wars globally fought, all in a vain attempt to maintain the status quo that is so often enjoyed by white male imposition. The kind of men they have permitted to ascend to the heights of power within the currently destabilized infrastructure of government they now control are but a shadow of the men that they falsely put before the world as supposedly noble and decent beings. These creatures of their own caucastic creation have created the kind of environment in this nation meant to maintain the masses as mentally dull and obedient to a specific type of ignorance that can only be found in America. The planet seems now actively preparing itself to turn the page and close the book on the United States of America, relegating it to the position of a third world country, while the final strategic move, and one that is truly befitting the progeny of former slaveholders, could be the enslavement of its entire population and then the confiscation of whatever resources might remain. Do not think for a moment it impossible to put these benign beings into chains, as that course of history has proven to be the fate of many a society that has committed the kinds of heinous crimes against humanity, such as these people have committed. They think themselves not only innocent of any crimes, but untouchable in their minds when it comes to recompense and reckoning. This false narrative has often at times become the precursor to an inevitable demise and the detriment of the unsuspecting offspring of those slated to serve as slaves as a payment of penance for the awful deeds committed by their forefathers. Make no mistake in that they don't sense the coming of accounts needed to be balanced in the books of history. They absolutely do as they prepare themselves for a violent resistance to the fast approaching and much needed balance that must occur, and they do so in vain. That same vanity has held them in a position of future accountability, and therefore it is unable to be remedied through their required repentance. The opportunity to correct their course of action and come to terms with their grievous past has been set right in front of them for centuries. The one constant in this equation is the consistency with which they all seem to maintain a firm stranglehold. They strongly possess the inability or refusal to admit to their historic crimes and take accountability for the actions of their ancestors as a simple requirement for pardon and forgiveness and healing. In short, they refuse to be healed.